Let me guess. Picard is the highest scoring show on Rotten Tomatoes. Because of course it would be. Yep. We're not surprised by this. We know. Hello everyone, I am Eka Random 42, the one, the only, the original, your favorite YouTube Harpy. And, the Discovery fans called me Harpy, so I just appropriated the name for myself because they just didn't like what I had to say about their precious little Star Trek. Guess what? It was mine before it was theirs. I grew up on Star Trek. I grew up with it being this hopeful, optimistic, better than we are sort of thing. It was better than we are. It was an idealized version of humanity where we all work together regardless of skin color, ethnicity, orientation, gender, any of these things. And the fact that it's just kind of now reduced to Orange Man bad, Brexit in space crap with F-bombs and every other thing under the sun. No, it's not. It's really not effing cool, Tilly and Stamets from Discovery. We want better from Star Trek, but apparently the critics disagree. The critics and the viewing audience. But it's not quite what it seems, like everything with Rotten Tomatoes. So, let's see. They do have a whole article saying how they're all ranked. And keep in mind, Rotten Tomatoes really wasn't used a lot when they were current TV series, right? Rotten Tomatoes really wasn't even something anybody started using until, I want to say, early 2000s. But here we go. 87% critic rating of 62. 80% of the audience score. Now, as you guys remember with the Star Wars Rotten Tomatoes fiasco, once they announced Little Mary Ray Palpatine, well, that Rotten Tomatoes score was frozen at an 86. The audience score to dip under what the previous Star Wars films had done. No. They wanted to keep that one frozen at a solid 86. So you would always see more and more reviews. If it got a little too good, they would throw in even a fake negative one. And we have evidence of them doing that. Same thing with Doctor Who, where they removed the scores. So let's just take a look at some of what the critics are saying. Oh, not every critic is loving it. Here, this critic. Star Trek Picard is a series that takes time to start, and once it does, it's not 100% convincing to continue further. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's just a bunch of meh. This critic from GQ Magazine UK. Well, he's probably just a white dude. His opinion probably doesn't matter because it's not for him, right? Right? Is that where we're at still?
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made.
Brie, we're not talking about A Wrinkle in Time. We're talking about Star Trek here. Focus, Cupcake, please. No matter the warp speed setting that a streaming platform like Amazon Prime puts on the budget and feel of Picard, the reality looks like a show that finds it hard to escape the gravitational pull of its past. Alright, so their complaint is it's too much like TNG. I don't think it's that much like TNG. Smart, well-crafted, layered, verging on overlayered. I would say it's very much overlayered. It is not smart, though. This is still Star Trek for people who think that this is Star Trek.
I like science.
Yeah. We know Spock. Spock likes science. Data is a robot. We got it. That's all you need to know. And Picard drinks Earl Grey tea, and Romulans are a thing, and Vulcans, and Klingons. That's all you need to know going into this one. You don't need to be a fan of Star Trek. And actually, the less you know about Star Trek, the more you're going to enjoy it. Let's see what this, she just looks like the type who would like it, doesn't she? The real reason to tune in is still Stewart. His Picard is in his 90s, a frail old man who seemingly has given up on the world. It takes multiple episodes for him to boldly go one last time, but watching Stewart take that journey is a joy. See, and that's all people really wanted out of it, like a lot of the casual normies and stuff. And this is part of why I'm not enjoying it, because I'm not a casual normie Trek person, in case you guys haven't noticed. I'm not your casual, like, normie Trek person. I did actually pay attention and watch the shows, and I grew up on them. Like, my first exposure to Star Trek, I saw Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home in the theater as a kid. That was my first real introduction. And then I was hooked because it was fun. It was interesting. It was creative. It was clever. It was a little overly preachy with the Save the Whales thing, but that was so much of the late 80s that you really couldn't escape that. That one in the rainforest and the planet and all that garbage. You couldn't escape any of that message anywhere. But here we go. Let's take a look at what the audience are saying. Because the audience is a much more mixed bag of some positive, some negative. Like this one from Ryan B. It's so great to see Picard back in action. For you Trekkies, which Ryan B clearly isn't one because he says you instead of for us Trekkies out there, you'll get a kick out of it for sure. Well, that's not enough for a lot of us. Just a little reference and a name drop and, hey, there's Picard, there's Data. Oh, they mentioned the Stargazer, his old ship. Yeah, there's a lot of little member berries. And I remember the Stargazer, I remember Data, I remember Picard. Yeah, I also remember more of a message of equality and working together despite our differences, not xenophobic Starfleet doesn't want to give Picard a ship and is actively mad at anybody who tried to help Romulans. No, you don't break Star Trek just to fit into your little agenda crap. And that's exactly what they did. And that's what they did with Discovery, too. Phil C., 1 star. An unbelievable story with an aged lead actor spending more time trying not to stumble over words than acting. Too many glaring plot holes to mention. Nostalgia, I gotta see, for Picard does not cut it for me. This is a Star Trek fan. This is somebody who's paid attention. This is somebody who knows what they're talking about, right? Not like Ryan B here, who says, for you Trekkies, you guys, see, you like it. You like it because it's got Picard and Data. See, if you don't like it, then you're not a Star Trek fan. And that's the biggest message here, is that if you don't like it, you're not a Star Trek fan because you're not just accepting of every little thing that they shovel at you. I am a Star Trek fan, however, and I do not like it because they have decided to not only insult my intelligence, but insult me personally, condone threatening behavior from people involved with the productions of Star Trek and people who go and attend and work at the conventions, things like that. People who are actually related to actors who worked on Star Trek. Oh yeah, and definitely check out that video. I've got it pinned in my first Picard review. But of course, no, that was my fault for being critical of the show. That was my fault for questioning whether or not things like Discovery was canceled. Meanwhile, the average Discovery viewer decides what I say based on the thumbnail and not actually watching the video. So you can see why I'm a little bit sensitive and I got a little bit of a grudge against modern current Star Trek. The type of people who will actively write an F-bomb into Star Trek to insult Captain Picard because what? White man bad? Because he's an old white dude, he's allowed. Meanwhile, the PC babies behind the scenes of the writer's room are going to go and tattle on somebody like Walter Mosley behind his back for relaying an anecdote where he actually dealt with some real isms in the world dealing with the police. And he was just relaying the exact language he heard in that anecdote. And the little PC babies that write Star Trek Discovery and whatever else, probably Picard too, they're the same people, decided to go and tattle to HR with him, and he's like, screw you guys, I'm out. He said it with a lot more class and dignity than I did, but keep in mind, he's got a lot more class and dignity than pretty much anybody writing this stuff. They cannot keep good, talented, quality writers. Even somebody who's acclaimed like Michael Chabon has jumped ship to go off and work on another project. So that's really, really telling. They've gone through at least 2 different showrunners before the series even went to air. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you guys do enjoy my content, please subscribe. You never know, I might be recording my next video. Bruce E.W., average. I'm not sure where this show is going. Certainly not a patch on Next Generation. The characters were done. It's like watching a retirement show give up after 1 episode. Yes. See, some people are giving it some common sense. 2 stars is probably fair. I would probably score it right slap dab in the middle, somewhere maybe around a 2.5 out of 5, just because I do want to know what happens to the characters I grew up watching. I am curious, and yeah, I'm a Star Trek fan, and I was completely bratty and selfish not wanting to watch this because it breaks my heart to see what they've done to something that I grew up with, that I always held a great deal of respect for. I wanted to be a writer like the people writing Discovery. I wanted to be like DC Fontana. I wanted to be like Captain Janeway. I wanted to be, I wanted to be in Star Trek back then when it was still hopeful and optimistic. I wanted to be able to be in that environment of a bunch of intelligent, competent people. Because in our real lives, how many of us are that smart person at work where nobody else does anything, and you see a bunch of lazy slackers who are just there because they know the boss or they're a relative or a nephew or whatever, and they're just terrible at their job. Yeah, a lot of us see that. And now this is the type of people they have writing Star Trek now. They don't have the DC Fontanas. They don't have the caliber and quality of intelligent people who deserve to be there. No. They've got whoever stumbles in, whoever they worked with on the Gilmore Girls, which is fine if you're writing Gilmore Girls. Gilmore Girls is not Star Trek, though. They're two completely different things. This would be like bringing in a Sesame Street writer or something. They're just not the same quality or caliber of expertise. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily wrong for writing Gilmore Girls stuff. No. Go back, write that. Go back and write that. And those are the type of people who are writing for Discovery, for certain. Because we would see it. We would play how many Gilmore Girls writers are on this episode of Discovery game when we were reviewing them on Midnight's Edge After Dark. And that's one of the problems with modern Trek, is that they're incapable of keeping the good, quality, talented people. 2 episodes in, and I can say I'm disappointed. I don't write reviews or publicly comment on shows, but Star Trek was such a part of my childhood and my life that I feel compelled to in this case. From what I've seen, there is no care with the narrative or production of this show. It seems to just be thrown together from a collection of loose ideas because there's a general direction to the narrative. But the way it's presented, the sets, and the visuals tell me it was never really scrutinized before they produced it. Like publishing a first draft. I get the direction Patrick Stewart mentioned in that it isn't the Star Trek world of Star Trek The Next Generation. This is a Starfleet that has lost its way, so to speak. As a commentary to what's going on in the world, I get that and accept that. Sure, there are a lot of plot holes, but if you've been around Star Trek long enough, you can sort of fill those in yourself with the benefit of the doubt thinking. Granted, in Star Trek style, they should be explained with techno-jargon that is based in scientific theory or pseudoscience in some cases. Yet what gets me is the visual style, which seems to be lifted directly from Star Trek Discovery. Oh, yes, it is.
I like science.
Shut up, Spock. I can play with the F-bombs, too. They lift that right out of Discovery as well. Set just about a century before Next Gen and nearly 150 years before Picard, yet the shuttles get around to looking like they're right out of Discovery's hangar. The Enterprise D has a hull so dark it might as well be made out of steel, making the ship look more like the combat-oriented Enterprise E, rather than a ship built for peacetime ambassadorial duties. 10 Forward looks extraordinarily sterile, dark and gloomy, for a place that is supposed to be a place of relaxation and socialization. The Daystrom Institute scene has exposed air ducts in the background. Starfleet has been traveling the stars for more than 2 centuries, and apparently humans have never figured out better air vents than that. Furthermore, and I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you're just nitpicking, you're just an old white dude who's writing this. But no, they're absolutely correct. I gotta continue reading this review because this guy is spot on. Furthermore, from what I've seen of the preview scenes as well as episode 2, human starships are as dark, sterile, and gloomy as a Borg cube. No, seriously, compare the light levels in the Borg cube and the scenes of any human starship. If anything, the Borg cube might have better lighting. I get it, visual style is an artistic choice, and there's a certain element of poetic license with that, but honestly, this is just lazy and slapdash, relying more on post effects, lens flares, and light rays to make it seem futuristic and visually appealing. I can't help but be pulled out of my immersion of the story by those very elements. And when I'm pulled out of that immersion, how can I enjoy a show that already has pacing issues? Watch it double speed like I do. Seriously, that's the only way I'm watching these new things is double speed so I can get to the end. Because if not, my mind is just going to wander because like you said, they are boring. They are boring. What does Jack M say? If it didn't bear the Trek prefix, it would be a passable foray into the Marvel-esque fantasy. But like Discovery...
I like science.
Shut up, Spock. This betrays the core optimism and underlying Star Trek to make a ham-fisted political point. Granted, it was always going to be an uphill battle working from the absurd Kelvin timeline, but it ultimately airs in the same manner of Discovery, albeit less grievously. Oh, no, you just didn't see episode 2 yet, did you? Cringeworthy dialogue, to service fans, amateur editing, lens flares, and a general soulless pervade. Sir Patrick Stewart is a fine actor to this day, and I suspect he will remain so until his last. But he plays himself here and not Picard. And keep in mind, this is what we've been saying. It is a very different Star Trek. It is a very different Picard. It is not in the same vein of Star Trek that we're used to. And, if you guys want to read more of these, I definitely like to read some of the good and the bad. Like this one. I missed him so much. All right, and that's fair. You're going to have a lot of people. This is why it's getting such good ratings. This is why it's up at like the 94. Because people want to like Star Trek. I want to like Star Trek. I want to be proven wrong. I want this to be the best Star Trek we're getting. And it's just not. They're just not capable of it with the culture behind the scenes. And that is of this thing where they have to infuse modern political messages in the show. Straight from the mouth of the girl who plays Doge or Dodge or whatever. I don't even care. The girl who's trying to hump the Romulans.
Well, I think what Star Trek has always done and always strives to do is comment on the times that we're in.
I mean, I think this...
No. You're absolutely wrong. And this is why I had to retweet this. No, I don't want a commentary on current times. I want a hopeful, optimistic future where I don't have to think about the ist and xenophobic Starfleet. But hey, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, not whatever this wannabe Twilight meets wannabe Logan meets wannabe Star Wars crap is. Whatever they're trying to do here. And that's the biggest problem, is that they think it's hopeful. They're trying to market it as that, and it's not. It's really, really not. They had to break how Star Trek is just to tell the story that they think they're smart enough to tell us of this. Oh yeah, Picard's gonna go and save the galaxy because that's what he did. Not necessarily. When you had Picard or Kirk or any of these captains go against orders, right? When you have them go against the orders of Starfleet, there was usually something kind of shady about why the orders were given. Like in the example of, I can't remember the name of the episode. It's the episode where Riker's old commanding officer, and I'm really, really sad I can't remember the actual name of it, but they tie it into Enterprise too. It's the episode that he's like going through the motions of being the cook in Enterprise to kind of get the answers of what to do back in this Next Generation episode. Where his old captain is trying to recruit him for this very illegal cloaking technology. Was it the Pegasus Project? Is that what it's called? Now I think it's all coming back to me. And it was this moral decision where he's like, okay, do I tell my current captain that my old captain's asking me to do something illegal and against Starfleet reg? And of course, the whole moral to that is that when you see Starfleet or your admirals or your old captains doing something that outside of Starfleet reg, you kind of know that, hey, something's up. Maybe they're under the influence of something. Maybe they're not well. Maybe they're not right in the head, right? And that is something that I think that they're probably going to throw in at the end of Picard, because they're going to realize towards the very end, either in reshoots or whatever, that, yeah, they kind of missed the mark, and you need something to be up with Starfleet for them to be that broken and wrong. I don't think they intentionally did that in the first place, though. I think that they wanted to tell a current modern politics ball filled Orange Man Bad in Space sequel to the JJ 2009 movie, which is exactly what all of the interviews with Akiva Goldsman and Alex Kurtzman have said. And I've done countless videos on that. You know, they say, no, it's not a sequel to Next Gen. It is based on the events of the Romulan star system blowing up, which are all events that took place in the 2009 JJ movie. And that's what this is really a sequel to. It is a sequel to the 2009 JJ movie with our Next Gen characters sprinkled in. And apparently Romulans that girls want to jump the bones of. Because, you know,
I like science.
that am Star Trek now. So tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. I am Mecha Random 42. And yeah, my voice is still gone, but I feel a whole lot better. See you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye.